The pile of ash is already a metre high. For weeks, workers from this Brittany fish factory have been protesting its planned closure. After years of service, they suddenly face the bleak prospect of redundancy.
It's a disaster for this region, the centre of Brittany. We've already lost a lot of food factories, and if they close this one too, the whole area will collapse.
Denise Castel is one of at least 200 workers at Marine Harvest. Although it's an important regional employer, the promise of cheaper labour costs is enough to lure operations eastwards to Poland. Workers' T-shirts read, "We are angry," and given the fact that the company has just paid its shareholders 35 million in dividends, their anger is justified. They're fighting for fair compensation.
In France, there are those on the top and those at the bottom. Those at the top just ignore us, so we're protesting, especially in Brittany, because people here are very attached to their region.
The protests have spread far beyond the factory walls. The nearby town of Carhaix is awash with posters claiming solidarity for the workers' cause. They often depict the bonnet rouge, or red caps, which are a throwback to Brittany's 17th century revolt against Paris and the introduction of a new tax. Christian Troadec, the mayor of Carhaix, is the face of the contemporary redcaps. He's in great demand among the French media and is increasingly drawing the attention of other international news outlets. The stagnant political situation in Paris is making Brittany's protests more effective.
It was not Sarkozy but Hollande who won the 2012 presidential elections. It is not that Hollande was promising much, but voters hoped there would be some degree of change. But absolutely nothing has changed, except the constant introduction of new taxes.
A new tax on heavy goods vehicles, known as the eco-tax, was the straw that broke Brittany's back. Arguing that such a levy would disadvantage far-flung regions such as Brittany, locals rebelled. In early November, tens of thousands of people turned out to a demonstration in the regional capital, Quimper, even though the government hastily postponed the introduction of the tax. Such protests make the government nervous, but the next big one is planned for the end of the month. Jan Manach will be there. He and Christian Troadec have fought political battles together in the past. Manach is a dairy farmer and cheese producer. His is a typically Breton business, but like many other farmers, he's worried about the agricultural crisis in Brittany and about his future.
Everyone is talking about the crisis in the agricultural industry, but at the moment it is a crisis for manufacturers. Our profits now barely even cover our costs.
And so he dons the red cap in protest. He says European enlargement is part of the problem, as Brittany simply can't compete with cheap Eastern European labourers in the German agricultural industry. That said, he believes French centralism is the greatest hurdle to Brittany's progress.
Farmers, fishermen, laborers, even employers showed up at the big demonstration in Quimper. This is not the same as those social movements that lead teachers to strike or farmers to demonstrate. This is a whole region saying, stop, we want a different system in this country. Give us the means to make it happen.
Paul Lemanach has run a deli in Carhaix for decades, but he now fears for his future.
The situation is very unsettling. If we close the factories, we'll suddenly have 8,000 people on the streets. The place will become an economic desert.
A sense of unease is slowly spreading through France's political ranks. The economic crisis, a weak president, and rising unemployment all play to the waiting hand of the right-wing extremist Front National.
We are fighting with people for the rights of Brittany. We don't want to abandon our region to the Front National, which capitalizes on people's misery to serve its own ends. I think the Front National is poison for Brittany, and we are the antidote.
But not everyone is convinced, including some of the workers at the gates of the fish factory.
I think they're just using what's happening here. It's really only about politics.
For now, it's still unclear whether the Red Caps' protest is anything but a smoke signal to Paris.